Alright guys, why RuneScape's most famous blogger disappeared. Let's check it out.
Marlene was RuneScape's most famous blogger.
Guys, Marlene. Guys, I've never heard of Marlene. Let me know if you have. The only blogger I know about is like this blogger called LeeBum1. Back in the site days. They'd have like the biggest thread on Scythe, or what is it called? Not Scythe. Zybez. They had some good stuff.
Except that she didn't get famous until after she stopped posting. Her RuneScape journey is one of the craziest butterfly effects I've ever heard, and you'll see why. Marlene's story actually begins at one of her most tragic moments. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, she owned her own shop that she called Marlene's Miscellanea. There, she would tackle just about any creative project you could think of. She reupholstered furniture, refinished antiques, made custom jewelry boxes, and even painted custom murals in her customers' homes.
Miscellanea, like the city in RuneScape, right, guys? Okay, so she already has a business. This is way back then, guys. Probably before I even got into the game, maybe, I don't know.
She also loved to write science fiction stories, some of which were good enough to be published in her city's newspaper and magazines. It was the perfect career for her, and
Alright guys, so got a good business going on? So what compelled her to play RuneScape, man? You know what I mean? RuneScape?
she absolutely loved it. However, sometime in about 2003, she injured her leg. Although Marlene never publicly discussed what the injury was, it was bad enough that she
Guys, she's so famous that she would have public statements from her. That means she probably didn't the video maker probably didn't interview who it is.
had to close her shop and stop almost everything she used to do. She decided that she would take up writing full-time, as she enjoyed it and she could do it from home easily. During a writing session, she was having trouble coming up with dialogue for some characters, and went on the internet looking for inspiration. Somehow she managed to come across what was then RuneScape Classic, and was instantly hooked. With not much else to do but write, she quickly began sinking hours into the game every day.
RuneScape Classic, man. Imagine RuneScape Classic goes out. Everybody played RuneScape Classic and everybody could have streamed it, bro. That would have been so cool to see people streaming RuneScape Classic, man.
Little did she know, it would soon take her on one of the craziest adventures of her life. But first, let's take an adventure to Flavortown with today's sponsor, Factor. Factor is, in my opinion, the most convenient.
Guys, whenever they're talking about, like, you know, food sponsor, bro, it's always gonna be these either Factor or HelloFresh, right, guys? They're the only ones who can do it, I guess, at this point, man. I don't know, guys. They should sponsor me though.
Convenient way out there right now to eat delicious food with no prep time. Every Factor meal is prepared by a chef, never frozen, and shipped straight to your door. All you have to do is pop one in the microwave for 2 minutes and it's ready. Instead of spending,
oh my goodness, the amount that chef would have to prepare, that's quite a bit of food, bro. It's industrial level food with how many orders they get.
Your whole lunch break waiting in line at a drive-thru, just bring a Factor meal to
then again, it's like that at a fast food restaurant though.
Work. Like maybe this creamy Parmesan chicken. I love this one because the chicken stays juicy, the sauce is awesome, just
yeah, we'll try it one day, guys. Look at him with this fancy Samsung fridge.
Overall so good. But if
that's designer fridge right there almost, guys. Maybe I'm just poor. I'm probably just poor.
That doesn't sound like your thing. Factor has plans like vegan, vegetarian, keto, and low calorie, with 27 plus meal options.
Guys, I said it again and I'll say it. I said it before and I'll say it again, guys. I'm only buy. I'll try this one day if only I could, you know, pick what meals I want. Like, you know, there's a lot of this stuff I can't eat a single thing on here, guys, because I'm I'm like intolerant, bro. I'm a very picky eater, guys. All this healthy stuff, guys. I would not try a single dish here.
Each week, there's something for everyone. Use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POGCOLOOCT50 for 50% off your first box. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Now, not long after the game would transition from
That's what the dragon looks like, and oh my goodness.
RuneScape
PNG image.
Classic to RuneScape 2, she would take a trip to Varrock to purchase some U-Logs. She found a player named Prime Falcon,
I thought Dragon Slayer 2 looks, well,
who agreed to sell her some, but there was a bit of a mix-up. Someone else looking for U-Logs traded him at the same time, and Prime accidentally sold them to him. Marlene wasn't happy with this at all, but Prime quickly apologized and offered to go cut her some more right away. Before she could tell him it was okay, he was already running back to some yew trees. Marlene was amazed at how polite he was. The average player wouldn't care who bought the logs as long as they got paid. So Marlene decided to show him her
that's most of us when we go to the store, right, guys? We're not trying to hang out that much. We're trying to go home.
favorite training spot, and from there, their friendship was born. Luckily for them, Marlene needed U-Logs that day, and Prime just so happened to be selling them. Marlene wasn't some kind of U-Log collector or item flipper, and Prime wasn't someone who would spend all day woodcutting and selling logs. They just so happened to have exactly what each other needed at the right place at the right time. Over the next few months, they became very close, and eventually began dating over the internet. Prime lived in Australia, while Marlene lived in Wisconsin, so the likelihood of anything
Snap, bro.
coming from this besides an eventual breakup was slim.
Guys, we have no mention of the blog yet. Don't know why.
But about a year in, Prime said that he had earned enough money to come visit her, and she agreed. Around the same time, Marlene won a writing contest that gave her an all-expenses-paid trip to New York for 2, with activities included. So Prime landed in
Wow, that is awesome.
Wisconsin, they drove to New York, and had a great weekend, even if it was too snowy for the horse carriage ride that they had won as part of the contest. This trip was so great
Oh, that's alright, that's alright.
that Prime didn't want to leave Marlene, and they got married sometime soon
I wonder if when he was researching this video, he read her whole blog, guys. It's a possibility.
after. Prime would leave his family and everything he knew behind in Australia, and moved in with Marlene in Wisconsin. Although they were happy together, it wouldn't take long before
That's quite the commitment.
problems for both of them would pop up.
That's every relationship ever.
Magazine and newspaper publishers were no longer buying the science fiction articles that Marlene was writing, as their readers were seemingly losing interest in the genre. To be fair, most people that bought newspapers back then did so to read the news. Marlene was entering her early 50s at this point, and her main source of income was now gone.
Holy smokes, bro. I thought she was gonna be in her 20s, bro. Early 50s. Wow.
Again, Prime couldn't help out either, as he hadn't been approved to work in the United States yet, a process that could take anywhere from months to years. With nothing but time on her hands, Marlene started researching ways she could make money online. Lucky for her, she found a career
Guys, I'm sure every person has looked up how to make money online.
that would fit perfectly.
and I'm sure 95% just didn't follow what the advice was. Maybe not, maybe not.
Blogging. She could spend all day writing without needing to leave the house, and her articles could pull in revenue from ads.
You know, you can still do something like this on Twitter. Just become like something that makes money like that. Realistically, guys, you know what I mean? There'd be a lot less blogging, though. I'm sure there's some Twitter bloggers that are making bank out there.
Prime
But you have to do like some replying to tweets and stuff. I don't know how to get your name out there.
Falcon knew a lot about technology and programming, so he helped her set up a website that she would name Marlene's Musings, and soon got to work documenting her adventures in RuneScape. Now, if you started a RuneScape blog today, I hate to say it, but you'd probably make nothing. Blogging is seemingly all but dead, or will be pretty soon. But back in 2007, when
I know, right? How do I not know that AI wrote it, man?
she started, it was perfect. Things like the RuneScape wiki and RuneScape YouTube tutorials didn't exist yet. Well, some
Hard to go against. It's hard to go against video loggers, man. It really is. But it also, there's a really big community that just doesn't like videos. Me personally, I do like videos more than books.
did, but they weren't very good. So if you wanted to learn about something in RuneScape, you were either heading to a fan site, forum, or a blog. Discussing her character's progress and
Really makes it seem like we used to live in the Stone Ages, right, guys?
giving her thoughts on recent updates actually made some money. But as you might imagine, a RuneScape blog isn't necessarily the road to riches. So Marlene started looking for more ways to make money online. Soon after, she'd come across a website called eHow. Users could write articles teaching others how to do things and receive a split of the ad revenue that the article earned. As you know,
Guys, I wonder if that website still plays, bro. eHow. It is, guys.
Marlene was a pretty crafty person, and she jumped at the opportunity. She would write articles that ranged from how to get transferred to a real person in customer service to guides on how to play RuneScape. Although eHow didn't pay much, it was a lot more than what she was making before. With so much time on her hands, she could spend all day researching and writing articles, each one increasing her earning potential. Best of all, she could even advertise her articles to her current audience on her RuneScape blog. Marlene didn't have a massive audience, but she was consistently getting a few comments on almost every
This is before YouTube, by the way, if anyone's wondering
blog post.
why she didn't post it on YouTube.
Luckily for her, this strategy worked pretty well, and for the first time in a while, she was making decent money. It was enough for her to even convince Prime Falcon to start an eHow too. I'm not 100% sure how he was able to do this without being approved to work in the United States, but maybe because it's the internet, it doesn't really matter. I don't actually know.
Now you could just like download an app, get a bank account, get direct deposits into that bank account through the app. You don't even have to to your freaking Australian bank account. Like that's how, bro. And nowadays, but I'm not sure how he did it back then.
They weren't living large by any means, but they were happy to be able to spend every day on RuneScape together, while also making enough to get by. As Marlene learned more about blogging, she would transition Marlene's musings from only discussing her character's progress and her opinions on the game to things that would draw more visitors. She started writing about almost every update to the game and wrote a ton of quest and holiday event guides. This would bring her enough of a following where she would be recognized in-game every so often, and her comments would start to rise. But if you played RuneScape back then, you might now be wondering, in a world where fan sites have guides for every activity, skill, and quest in the game, and no shortage of players sharing their progress on forums, why would anyone care to read Marlene's blog? Well, I think it boils
Honestly, I probably would back then, guys. I used to like reading before, and I still do like reading.
down to two things: her speed and her personality. Marlene had an absolutely unbelievable dedication to this game. Not only would she review pretty much every update to it, she'd do it in the same day it launched, including quests. If a new quest launched in the morning, Marlene would almost always have a full guide out before the day ended, a speed that even some fan sites couldn't keep up with. As for her personality, I think this post sums it up pretty well. So you know how a lot of players, myself included, will type smiley faces to show that you're smiling or something?
Oh yeah, we know all about that, guys. Dino XX's stream, guys. He has a smiley face in every single freaking
Thing was funny.
stream title, man.
Marlene didn't believe in doing that. Instead, she would type out the word smiling. She felt the extra effort was much more sincere. Although that may seem silly to some of us, it's really
quite abstract.
reflective of the kind-hearted nature she had. Marlene would oftentimes respond to comments made on her blog from players asking for her advice on what to do next on their RuneScape accounts. Marlene would actually take the time to write out what I describe as a full essay on what options they had. Luckily, all her hard work seemed to pay off, as when her and Prime Stove
That's a lot of work to do, though.
broke in 2008, they didn't have to scramble to find the money for a replacement. They just took a trip to their local Best Buy and bought a brand new one the same day.
'Cause that's literally what I'm trying to do, man. Through YouTube, man. And I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying. I am not going to stop trying to get, bank through YouTube.
She even now had enough time to start studying subjects that interested her, like website design and marketing, by renting books from the local library. Things were actually looking pretty good for the two of them, but it unfortunately couldn't last forever. It was now 2011, and Prime, for some reason, still hadn't been approved to work a traditional job in the United States. This
Wow. Guys, what? Come on now.
might not sound so bad, as his eHow was bringing in money too, except that eHow had just discontinued their user-submitted writers program, as the quality of articles was quickly going downhill. As the site grew, so did the amount of writers. Whether it was having 200 articles by different people on the same thing, or articles that were lazily researched and pumped out for money, it was starting to hurt eHow's reputation and their visitor count. They would buy the articles they liked from some of their authors and would remove all of the ones that they didn't buy. Unfortunately for Marlene and Prime, eHow wasn't interested in theirs, and their hundreds of articles no longer exist today. She would start her own website called Storehouse, where she could keep publishing eHow style articles, but it never got far. At the same time, the rise of the RuneScape wiki as well as social media would cause her blog viewers to start to decline. Prime and Mar were in a pretty tough
Looks like she just doesn't want to adapt.
situation, and unfortunately, it was about to get worse. In June of 2012, we learned that Marlene had been sick for a little while. Her voice sounded like a frog, she couldn't talk for long, and when she did talk, she couldn't stop coughing. About a month later, she would announce that her and Prime would be moving up north to a different city in Wisconsin. They blamed Marlene's coughing on the large amount of soot in their current city, and she was excited to be on the road to recovery. But then, the updates just sort of stopped. Marlene kept writing and publishing blogs, but over the next 3 months, not a single part of her website would be backed up to the Wayback Machine, which is the only way to read her blogs today. Once the updates resumed in December, it wasn't Marlene talking to us anymore. Instead, it was Prime Falcon. He announced that the coughing wasn't from the sooty city they lived in, but that Marlene actually had cancer. She was too weak to type, and he would pass on any comments that her fans left. Skipping to the next backup, tragically, the only new blog posts are links to her obituary submitted by Prime Falcon. Then the backup stopped again, and just a few months later, the site was gone completely. I wondered, why didn't Prime Falcon keep the website up? Unfortunately, after searching his real name, I came across another obituary. Prime died just a year and 10 days after Marlene. Now, you might be wondering, why am I telling you this whole story? I know you've come to this channel for weird RuneScape history, and not
This is though.
to feel depressed over people you've never met. Well, let me explain. I first discovered who Marlene was after watching an old video called 3 Famous RuneScape Players Who Are Dead Now. The 3 were the Old Knight, Fat Wrecked, and Marlene. Out of the 3, I had never heard of Marlene, and after reading her blog, it seems most people hadn't either. So I wondered, why is she on this list? She's not famous. But then it clicked for me. Marlene became famous for being a RuneScape player who died. Plenty of RuneScape players have died, but she's one of the very few that 1, had an audience, and 2, had her death publicly documented online. When this video blew up, it pushed Marlene's name to heights higher than ever before, but still,
R.I.P. Marlene, man.
nobody really knew who she was. Her story may seem like a tragedy, but I think it's beautiful in a weird way. By chance, she met her soon-to-be husband through RuneScape. By chance, she won that New York City contest where they got to be a real couple for the first time. And by chance, they happened to be compatible enough to spend the next 6, almost 7 years of their lives together every day.
Through RuneScape.
Marlene deserves to be known for more than just being someone who died who happened to play RuneScape. And with most of her work hidden from easily accessible places, I don't want to
I just want to know how the other guy's cause of death. We don't know.
leave her story up to chance this time. This video may have left you feeling a bit down, so on a lighter note, check out the video on the right. It's all about how these useless little rare items actually saved old school RuneScape.
That story did the opposite make me feel down and gain tribute. We do. There's also a lot of other RuneScapers that just end up passing away. I'll probably be one that does eventually. Let's say, like, find something wild like a cure to aging, right, guys? Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Um, peace out, peace out. Man, there's some good stuff. My recommended right now. I was just looking. Alright, thank you for watching, guys.